Fair Park is one of 4 solar PV planning applications in mid-Cornwall within a 3-mile radius. Each of these is on 200 acres of prime farmland and countryside, totaling the size of Truro. They will have a huge impact on business, residents, wildlife and food security nationwide. I want to show you what the glossy brochures don't.
Russia and Ukraine are at war. There's little movement of wheat, potatoes or fertiliser from the region. India has banned the export of rice, and droughts and heat waves across Europe have caused a poor harvest, leading to produce missing from our shelves over recent winters. First person I want to speak to is someone with a better knowledge than I about agriculture and food security.
I'm a 4th generation farmer on this particular land. We farm pigs and arable, and I have a particular interest in food security. I guess that started back maybe 15 years ago when we became really interested in regenerative farming. We'd got disillusioned with high input farming where a lot of chemicals and pesticides are used, and we realized that we couldn't continue as an industry down that path. So we became really interested in the organic regenerative approach. It's quite challenging, it comes with difficulties, but the food security angle came in and really became relevant, I suppose, maybe around 5 years ago, when I realised or began to understand the immense pressure that land is under in terms of development. And I think particularly in Cornwall, yields have been artificially created through the use of petrochemicals within the agricultural industry. So there is no question that even if we stopped any development, if we stopped building houses, roads, solar, all the pressures that there are on land, even if we stop today, our food security, which is currently around 55% in the UK, will plummet anyway. So yesterday the government issued a ministerial statement stating that they are committed to securing UK food production, which is interesting given that it is only 55% and they don't seem to identify a need to increase that. But either way, they have said that in most circumstances, solar should only be deployed on non-prime farmland and should not be used on best, most versatile BMV land. Now, BMV land is grades 1, 2 and 3A. Now in Cornwall, we don't have a lot of those. We certainly don't have much grade 1 and 2 land. We've got quite a bit of 3A, but an abundance of 3B. Now, it's really important to understand that land is graded just on the physical makeup of the soil, the mix between the loam, the sand and the clay. And although that does have a big bearing on the ability to grow crops, it's quite often the case that grade 1 and 2 land, because it produces such good crops, has often been burnt out and destroyed through bad farming practices. Quite often, land in the grade 3 and 3B brackets are on livestock farms, which, because of livestock grazing, livestock manuring, quite often have much higher organic matter levels and more resilience, and actually therefore can often out-yield higher grade land. So it's really important to recognise that grade 3B land, for example, is not inferior, and it is actually capable of producing strong yielding crops. I think we're really lucky living in Cornwall's temperate climate. We never have a climate or weather disaster. If we get 3 weeks of dry weather, it's a drought, 3 weeks of wet and it's a monsoon. We're very lucky. We don't really know at all what extreme weather is. And that means that even on grade 3B land, for example, we can double crop. Taking 2 crops from a piece of land in 1 year on 3B land is quite common. So, for example, if we think about a 200-acre site that's 3B and is perhaps destined for large-scale solar, we're actually removing a huge amount of food from the market. If that block was in wheat, it would be producing perhaps 700 or 800 tons. If it was in greens, perhaps growing cauliflower, spring greens, it would be producing hundreds of tons a year, if not in the thousands, and potatoes would definitely be in the thousands of tons. It is a large pile of food that we're talking about, that 1 acre produces times 200.
For solar developers, the answer to food security is nearly always grazing sheep. So I want to find out from a sheep farmer if the numbers really stack up.
I've got 70 acres here. It's extensively managed, so it's very low input. The pastures are down to permanent, so they'll be in for anything from 7 to 10, 12 years, depending on the condition. And the diet is, grass, if you like, and during the winter time it's fodder beet. Running on at the moment, I've got about 120 ewes, 20 odd rams, and the lambs, which are about 50 at the moment. Stocking rates for sheep under solar, we're looking at about 1 per hectare. That's what the industry claim. The sheep will be out for 6 months of the year, and under normal conditions on grassland like this, you'd be looking at about 7 per hectare. So the fact that the sheep are off the ground for 6 months, we're looking at a drop in production from all of these sites of 90 odd percent. My opinion about grazing sheep under solar for any length of time is going to be a problem because of the soil. And once you've got ground covered in plastic for a term of 30 or 40 years, the soil normal cycling, as in the movement of nutrients around it, is not going to happen to any degree, and that's quite apparent from the photograph. So over time, I would say you're probably going to get health risks with the livestock, most definitely, because it's not getting adequate trace elements from the soil.
Due to the rural and quiet location at Hendra and Landrine, there's an abundance of wildlife within the area. Things like deer, rabbits, badgers, foxes and hares that have recently been introduced into the area are now thriving and are growing in numbers. Animals migrate from woodlands to woodlands, and this will all stop when the solar panels are here. Hares need wide open spaces to survive, but they also need hedgerows and woodlands to escape to, so that the predators can't get them. And since introducing the hares, as the numbers have grown, it would be a real shame for these to be lost in this area. We have an abundance of bats here that, since the hedgerows have been removed on the east of the site, we've noticed a decline in numbers. The site automated bat survey confirmed the presence of at least 9 bat species. Within the bat survey, this site is considered to be between regional and county importance. Owls also frequent this area. The crops and grassland hold their source of food. The wet and dry heathland that we have here has an abundance of wildlife within it. The Triple SI protects this, but if we have these solar panels on site, the runoff of water will change the way of the land and the habitat that Dorset Heath enjoys.
So I'm on the southeast side of the site now. The border boundary is just here over this wall, and I'm hoping I'm going to meet some of our less sociable neighbours. So I found you pretty easy. I take it it's not you I'm looking for.
Guess you've come to look at for the otters. But,
yeah.
I say you won't see them much in daylight, but we've certainly seen them here. We've got several videos of them.
Fantastic.
And I think there's probably about 3. A couple of nights ago we had 3 swimming up here.
Oh, lovely. So after the video that you sent me the other day, you had 3 more come through this year?
Tends to be a family group usually when you get 3.
2 nights ago we had 3, but we've had them regularly here, and there's activity next door in the lakes because we've had chewed up fish heads on the stream before where they've robbed the carp from next door.
Oh dear.
So yeah, they are.
So a nuisance, but also really nice to see.
Yeah,
oh, lovely.
Excellent.
They're regular little visitors.
So this is the camera you used to get all your shots?
Yes.
Where does this stream come from then?
Well, this is the Kessel stream, and it runs right up to the southern boundary of the site.
Okay.
Not that far away. And when we've seen otters in here, we know that they go upstream as well, and they've been seen around properties on the site.
So the spring is right in the middle of the south boundary, isn't it, from here?
Yeah.
For this stream?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
Yes.
run through to Laddock.
And it goes through to Laddock
And
at
to
the other
Cillian.
end?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So what are your worries for the otters if the application goes ahead?
I think the main thing that comes is whether they survive the disturbance, and especially the pollution, which is just bound to come, and contamination of the watercourses when the construction starts.
Okay.
And also any damage from the breaking of panels or any leaching of chemicals into the water.
Right. And I also hear that flooding is an issue down here as well.
Oh yes.
That's possible change of habitat for the otters,
Yeah, I
I
think-
suppose?
Yes,
it would
it
change
would.
the
The landscape
course of the
would.
watercourses. It's not ideal.
No.
Mm.
So you've had a lot of flooding here over the years anyway, haven't you?
We have, yes.
Should we go and have a look at the areas that you've taken videos of?
Yes,
Yeah,
certainly.
sure.
Yes.
So this is the gateway where most of the flooding videos were taken from, isn't it?
Yes. Well, they were cropping potatoes, and it was absolutely pouring out of this gateway in an absolute torrent and going down the road, flooding right the way, the full width of the road, right down as far as the cottages and the Grade 2 listed farmhouse down there. The potatoes were 500 metres away from this gateway. On a different occasion, we've come up here, and even though it's now in daffodils and grass, just a couple of days ago, it was flooding all the way down the road again similarly, and there is another gateway just down there from another field where there is also substantial flooding.
So the first video isn't just a one-off, is it? It sounds like this happens.
Oh, it's a
on an
regular
annual basis.
It's a regular occasion, yes. There's been occasions where the council have had to come down and clear the road of the mud and debris, which obviously costs the council taxpayers money. As you can see, it is a sloping field. They have said that this is a flood zone 1, and yet it is adjacent to a floodplain and properties in flood zone 3B, and these are regularly flooded as a result of the substantial runoff from these fields during heavy rainfall.
Homeowners and farmers in the valley have had to install flood defences to protect properties and livestock from flooding, a fact that the developers and consultants have neglected to identify despite being asked on the application form.
Looking behind me, you can see the beautiful valley here at Hendra. There's evidence of the valley being used for agriculture going back hundreds, if not thousands of years. We have Roman and ancient Britain field markers. There's ruins of a medieval farmhouse in the valley. And in going back beyond that into Neolithic times, we actually have a barrow on site that's within the area that's planning to be developed. The barrow is part of a row of barrows that run across the ridgeline. And in fact, recent excavations on the A30 have shown quite a bit more Neolithic and Mesolithic environment. A recent talk on the A30 excavations, it was interesting to see how shallow some of the finds were. And I know that Historic and Environmental Planning from Cornwall Council are particularly concerned about some of the potential finds on this site being in shallow land that potentially would be damaged by the foundations for several hundred solar panels. Having read the report from the developers' geophysical survey, HEP have come back and are very interested on what they consider potentially significant regional archaeological evidence that may be under the ground, with several more boundaries, a couple of Iron Age roundhouses. HEP have asked that there's further investigations carried out before any planning determination is made.
So we're in Mitchell, in the heart of Mitchell. This is the start of the footpath that will take us through a really beautiful sheep run up to the top road, crosses over at the top, and then you'll be walking down the public footpath that it is in the middle of the proposed solar park. So it's a really important footpath for this community. We use it a lot, everyone does.
Fantastic. Right, lead the way.
Let's go.
Wild garlic's looking pretty good this year, isn't it?
Really lush. Spring's great this one. I love it in autumn too. It's lovely. You can see that it's a walk of contrast, isn't it? From that beautiful historic sheep run out into the open space of the highland. And of course, once you get onto the Hendra part of the footpath, you see such far-reaching views, don't you? Yeah. You see the tapestry of the farmland, you see the copses, the woodland copses, you see that far distant view of Carn Bray on a clear day, and you can practically see the coast from here. Actually, it's a beautiful walk.
Yeah. So what other infrastructures around here then?
Well, we've got in the background the St Denis incinerator. There are several solar parks already. I don't know if you can see that one, Jamie, over there. That's 50 acres. So, you know, that doesn't come anywhere close to the proposal that we're looking at.
It's hard to imagine all this field as a solar park, isn't it?
It really is. Maybe we should go to an existing solar park and see how that's impacted the landscape.
Good idea.
And we're back into woodland again.
Yeah, this is actually my favourite bit of this walk.
It is beautiful, isn't it? So varied. So I brought you here just to give you some idea of what it's like to walk alongside the solar panels. And I don't know about you, but I feel fenced in. I feel like I'm walking in a tunnel. It doesn't feel like a countryside walk at all.
No. If I'm coming for a walk in the countryside, I want open views, open spaces.
Exactly.
This does feel very compacted, doesn't it?
And the fence is going to be higher than this with the Hendra proposal, and the mesh of the fence is going to be tighter as well. So you really are going to feel like you're walking in a very restricted area. It's a shame. So what do you think about that as a view then? Can you actually see anything other than metal and glass and some wiring?
It's not quite the countryside walk that I envisioned when you said we should go for a walk in the fields.
You can't see anything.
No, this view definitely isn't what I would come out to see if I was going on a walk. There's no view. Well, that's a great sunset, but probably best to be experienced somewhere else today. This is the drive now coming down to Hendra Barns. It feels like you are going into the middle of nowhere. It's time to switch off, enjoy your holiday, enjoy your wedding, whatever it might be that you're coming here for. And I can't help but think if all these fields in front of us here, particularly this one on the side of the road, the side of the driveway, that was full of solar panels. I don't know if I'd want to stay here, let alone get married here.
We bought Hendra Barns in '96. It was in a state of ruin. The roof was falling in. The barns was just full of, I think it was an old milking parlour or something before, where we've cleaned it all out. We lived in a caravan here on site for about 6 months whilst I managed to get a fair bit of the work done so we could move into part of the barn. The grounds outside here was left go. I mean, it was just full of rubbish and concrete and old vehicles and tyres and all sorts, and we sort of cleaned all that up. We put the pond in, the lake in for the wildlife, and over the years we've done the grounds. We landscaped all the grounds for the weddings and the holiday lets, just to make it look nice as it is today.
It all started with lots of holiday guests really sort of saying this would be a fantastic place to hold weddings. So we thought, actually, yes, that's something we most definitely can do. So Ken and Nick set to creating the beautiful arbour that's down by the lake, and we obtained our official wedding licence in May 2015, with our first ceremony in October of that year. And it just has taken off, or it did take off phenomenally well. It was only meant for us to sort of aim at sort of 6 to 8 weddings a year. I think with our record one year being 12 weddings, which was incredible. And I think for me, my biggest probably accolade ever was to make it to the Simply Wedding Award finals 2 years running, which was incredible.
Yeah, business after COVID, business was really good. Our holiday lets was busy, and we had plenty of weddings. So we was pretty pleased with what we have achieved at that point. But one morning I found somebody wandering around their lane or property, and when I approached them, they didn't really want to tell me what they was doing. But come to find out, they was doing a bird survey and there was an application going in for a solar farm. So we had lots of bookings for especially the weddings. So we felt we had to let them, our couples, know what was going on, because we didn't know if the how quick the permission, the application would go, and how quick they would be building this. So we had to let them know.
So for I think we managed to get through our weddings for the rest of 2022, didn't we? And then certainly for last year, we did approach all of our wedding couples. I had already taken 5 bookings for 23, with every single one of those couples opting out, which literally left us devastated. And them as well. You know, it had ruined their day. They'd chosen to hold their weddings with us, and then they had to go and make second choices, which was heartbreaking for all of us.
Well, we couldn't take a chance on taking their wedding on an awkward day.
No, we had no idea what the time scale of the solar farm was going to be.
So we paid their deposits back.
Yes.
And you know, we was totally upfront with them. We paid their deposits back, which left us a lot of money in debt, really, and we didn't get the weddings. So yeah.
So with regards to weddings, I literally have 1 wedding booked. Holiday let bookings are also well and truly down, but I believe that is a nationwide thing currently. Hopefully that will pick up. But with regards to weddings, I'm having inquiries coming in for 2025, 2026. And again, I'm stuck with not knowing quite what to do. So I don't know whether to accept these weddings, because we still don't really know which way to go with that. So that's something that I'm struggling with at the moment.
I mean, the thing is, you know, at the minute we've got no solar around us. It's a beautiful valley. It's peaceful. It's quiet. I mean, you know, we got everything going for it. But if the solar farm get passed, and when the solar panels are in, most of our couples for weddings, most of our holiday makers will look us up on the website and then sort of read, oh yes, we like that. Most of them, and they tell me they always go on Google Earth. Once they go on Google Earth and see what it's like, you know, with the panels and all, I don't think we've got a hope to do another wedding or any holiday lets.
I think at the moment when couples come for viewings, wedding viewings, they're driving down the lane, they're looking out at the most beautiful scenery. You can see the whole valley as you come down that lane, as you get to our corner and you look across the garden here at Hendra. It's just the most beautiful view. It's going to be a very different kettle of fish if the solar panels go ahead. It's going to be all the way down the lane, and then when you get into the garden itself, to the right, the entire field, which we call the meadow field, again will be full of solar panels. And it will be looking at the back of the panels from where we are as well, which will just be the ugliest picture you could ever imagine. So,
well, I mean, coming from a mile away, looking into the valley, you're going to see all the solar farm, all the fencing. There's 2 metre high fencing all the way around, and that will be within 5 metres of our boundary, all the way down the lane, all the way across the bottom and in front of our property, and in fact all the way around the back of our property. It'll be just like living in an industrial estate. So, to be quite honest, I don't think anybody would want to book a holiday or a wedding in an industrial estate. It'll just feel exactly like that.
I think it's true to say that it's well and truly broken our hearts, and we find it really hard to talk about this, don't we?
Yeah. Twerp.
I couldn't help but feel for Ken and Maggie and the generations of their family that have grown up here. They'll be the most heavily impacted of everyone I'll meet. Not only their lives, but their livelihoods and the business that they've worked so hard and so passionately to build will be ruined.